have here a little pack of some grains, beans, legumes, nuts, and seeds. This is just my own stock, so I basically have, you can think of this as like one serving or whatever. I have a bunch of these, and I buy in big bulk, you know, like 25, 35 pounds of like black beans or whatever, and then I just separate it out and I cook with it. It's kind of a new thing, but I'm liking it so far. So some of this is really self-explanatory, but the reason I'm going over this stuff is there's a philosophy that underpins this whole idea, right? The philosophy is that the life that we get from our food is the life that our body uses to do what it does. So the quality that our body is able to attain to is basically derived right directly from what we're putting in it. So if that's the principle that's undergirding this whole thing, then the idea is you want to maximize the life in your food before you consume it, right? You want the most life you can have in your food before you get it. And that's why sprouting everything and soaking everything is such a big deal with this way of doing it, especially if you're doing it to address any type of health issue. Not that this is medical advice or not that this is health advice. This is just some basic information about food. So pinto beans, you know, you can soak them, germinate them, and then dry them out, dehydrate them or just dry them out. Or just sprout them before you cook them. You know what I mean? One thing you can do, black beans similarly. You can sprout them. You can, with the blender that you have, with that blender, the Blendtec, you can make bean flour, which you can use to make different kinds of breads. You can make like a bean bread where you mix it with water, lay it flat, put it in the oven, and bake it. And now you've got a wrap that you can use for, like, you throw some fresh vegetables in it, throw some fresh ingredients in it to get that variety. Because even for someone that has tremendous willpower to eat something that's just kind of not palatable or just boring or just bland or whatever all day long, trying to do this stuff, what I've learned over like 10 years of trying every kind of approach you can imagine is the more you can make it interesting for you to go through with the foods, even when there's an extreme motivation, health motivation just to do it, it's nice to treat yourself to a more pleasurable experience while you're doing it, if you can do it in the same time, space, energy, and cost. I don't see why, So that's just my little take. We got flax seeds here, which I put in smoothies, so I think like two scoops, whatever. I usually throw these in to a smoothie, so I'll put some fruit in. You may want to avoid the fruit smoothie, but there's definitely ways around that. You can do cucumber-based smoothies with like mint and different herbs and things like that. Maybe not now, and definitely need to talk to a doctor in terms of what you're currently doing, but that is absolutely something to consider, that you can do a lot of vegetable smoothies that can be surprisingly flavorful, and it's all about getting that nutrition in if you're going to do smoothies. You got sunflower seeds. These are raw organic. Again, I'm sourcing them. I'll give you the website from a place that it's way cheaper. It's half the price from Whole Foods. It's much fresher, much higher quality. The taste comparison, the constitution comparison, everything's just phenomenally better with the quality of this food rather than what I get at Whole Foods. And the price is like half to 2/3, like less. Chickpeas, these come actually sprouted. It's so cheap to get them sprouted that I did that. So these have already been sprouted and then dehydrated. So if you want to make hummus, you just simply take 1 or 2 cups of these and you put it in a jar, fill it with water, soak them, give them 24 hours, maybe even 36 hours, something like that, because they're very, very hard. Get them soft, and then you can pour them in your blender, put in some red pepper, put in a carrot, put in a little salt, or don't, just do it like that. Blend it up, you got a quick whipped up hummus, and then you can dip some of your bean bread in it, or you can dip some of your, you can just munch on some sunflower seeds and eat spoons of it. You can do anything you want, as creative as you want to be, to keep that, and it's all about incorporating that variety so that your body's getting that rich variety of all the various goodies that the food has. Lentils, pretty self-explanatory, again, raw, organic. That's why I have all this stuff, as I figured it's easy enough. I just give you a buy. I got tons of these, believe me. You take one, and then that way you just get off to the races. You don't have to think about anything. This is quinoa. So this is sprouted quinoa. Again, the whole idea of sprouted is now there's like, when a food sprouts, it generates a tremendous amount of enzyme activity, which increases its protein count and it's just what's available within that food, just phenomenal amounts. I mean, like multiples of what it would be otherwise left alone. And when you also are removing all the enzyme inhibitors from nuts and seeds, enzyme inhibitors are on the outside of things like almonds, and they make it so the almond won't break down in nature. So if it lands on the ground, it'll just stay an almond until the conditions are right to sprout and germinate and grow. So you want to remove that from these guys so that you don't eat those, because that is going to interrupt your digestive process. And just it sucks. You can get a stomachache if you eat a bunch of them. So you soak them, you sprout them, you increase the protein, you increase the amino acids, you increase all kinds of delicious stuff and good stuff that is important for you, increase the taste and flavor, and then you consume those. So that idea is like so fundamental, I can't overemphasize enough, that by consuming living foods, that is the way to get yourself in the most advantageous circumstance, by consuming living foods. That's the key to this idea. This is kamut, which is a cool story. It's like wheat basically, but it's a variety of wheat that had gone out of growth on the entire planet until it was found in Egypt in a tomb, is how the story goes, and it was sent in an envelope to a farmer in Minnesota. That farmer planted it, and he ended up with 500 bushels of seed of this thing that came from like a few seeds from this tomb at World War II that was found by a soldier. This is the story, you can look it up, Kamut, K-A-M-U-T, and grew it as feed for livestock until they started testing it against wheat, and there were a few clinical tests done of this against wheat, and it was like vastly outperformed and had much more mineral content, much better. So in the blender you now have, you can put a few cups of this in, blend it into flour, and make bread, and it's delicious and it's very nourishing as well. And it's not GMO and it's clean, and you can feel good about it, and you can incorporate it in something like this if that's something you want to do. And if it's not, there's no obligation or pressure to take any of this stuff if you don't want to or anything like that, but I was just trying to make it easy, right? Why not? It doesn't cost me anything. This is rice, pretty straightforward. It's brown rice, so I like brown rice more, and it's also raw and organic. So this is all clean food. So you consume these foods in soups, smoothies, salads, any kind of entrees you can come up with. You make hummuses. You just get these foods into your rotation and make this like a pillar, a core element of what you're doing. You combine juices and you combine fresh living food as often as possible, and you add to that enzymes and probiotics to upgrade and increase the potential energy available for your body to work with what you're providing it and power through with your willpower, focus, discipline, mindset, and art and drive. I think that, again, like I said, I think that puts you in the most advantageous circumstances that you can find yourself in. And with that, that's all I got.